نعم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين صدق الله العظيم.
جزاكم الله خيرا Sheikh Ja'far. Allah Ta'ala reward you for that wonderful recitation. So inshallah we'll be moving on to uh, the President's keynote address. I'm hoping the President is currently on the call. So we'll be moving on to the President's keynote address, which is our President, Sulaiman Dikullah.
Now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm using another gadget. That's why I didn't detect I was in earlier.
No problem, sir.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. We give thanks to Almighty Allah and we beseech Him to shower His endless blessings and mercy and in the bless of mankind, the leader of all Muslims, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his household, his companions, and the generality of Muslims to the day of resurrection. My brothers and sisters in Islam, I'm so delighted and so glad to be with you all today and seeing a good number of us turning out for this event. It gives a level of joy as we expect more people to join. I want to welcome you all to this special occasion. It's one of our own little ways of giving back to our members in terms of educating them, enlightening ourselves on our well-being. We do this at intervals after we must have looked at one or two challenges that people are facing, and we look at how we can address it in our own little way. We believe that this webinar and other programs we are organizing will go a long way to assist us in various aspects of our lives. As an organization, we see this as an opportunity for every one of us, including the organizers, to learn a lot on how to manage our stress better, considering the different, activities we are engaged in. Many of us, we are multitasking, doing so many activities at the same time. And at the same, we need to look inward at how to maneuver in a better way so that it would have a massive effect on our health in the long run. This is the reason we have decided to organize today's webinar so that we can address this among other issues. Secondly, apart from this aspect of well-being, we also like to address our relationship with gadgets and how it might have effects on our well-being as well. Of course, a lot of things are done online now, a lot of things are done virtually, and many of us are so glued to our phones on different occasions. In fact, the bulk of our time is spent it on the screen. So there's need for us to understand a little health, how to, maneuver ourselves better, how to utilize, the resources we have, yet not having deeper effects on our well-being. So these are the aspects of our health we have chosen to address today, and we have invited fantastic and capable hands to address these beautiful topics for us. The first topic is on burnout and balance, managing stress in a fast-paced world. That's the first topic. And to address this for us is our brother, Ustad, is a scholar. He's one of our fantastic reciters back then in Vanguard Academy. At the same time, he's one of our very vocal colleagues while we were in school. So it's no other person than Dr. Muadh Tajudeen. I'm sure many of us would have read through his profile. We would have seen how wonderful it will be to meet somebody of his persona. So we're so glad that we have him amidst us. He will be addressing us on the topic burnout and balance managing stress in a fast-paced world. The second lecturer we have invited is Ajia Zainab Olode. She's another fantastic speaker. One of our, one of our gifts in Vanguard's Academy. So she would also be addressing that important topic: digital health, how screens affect your mind and your body. So I want to urge every one of us to pay attention, listen attentively, ask questions where necessary, so that we can all learn from this beautiful session. It promises to be, enlightening, educating, and interesting, inshallah. So let us endeavor to participate and give our attention. Let us manage our time so that within the shortest time we can achieve a lot of things. Once again, I want to say welcome to you all, and I pray that Allah continues to bless our endeavors. Before I drop the invisible mic, I would like to add as well that we should be looking up to many more programs that will be coming up from VAOSA as a body. Inshallah, hopefully this year we'll be having our business pitch competition as well, like we did last year. We'll be having our award, the award we gave to students of Vanguard Academy, just like we did last year as well. We'll be having it this year, inshallah. I want to appreciate all our sponsors, all our members for all you do. We are so grateful. We are so, so grateful. I want to a special shout out to those who have been consistent with their work subscription. They pay their work subscription every month. Now we have almost 1.5 million naira, saved so far for our work, for our VAOSA work project. Isn't that a laudable one? So I want to appreciate all of those who have been committed to this. May Allah reward you all abundantly. At the same time, I want to urge every one of us to give our best to this institution. It is a ways of giving back to the society. While I also, I encourage us to participate in other programs of Vanguard Academy. I want to say jazakumullahu khairan to all of those who have been sponsoring us, giving us backup in all ways, both in cash and kinds. May Allah continue to expand your wealth, bless your endeavors, and ease your affairs. Thank you so much, and welcome once again. Jazakumullahu khairan kaseera.
Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you for that. Thank you for that welcome address. And I hope we are all going to take into account or take into consideration all that our president has spoken to us about. So I think without wasting too much time, so this is already 4:50. So we would move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is our first topic. So as the president earlier mentioned, the first topic is burnout and balance, managing stress in a fast-paced world. And this is going to be presented to us or discussed by one of us, who is Dr. Muadh Tajudeen. So Dr. Muadh Tajudeen, as you must have all seen by now from the Meet the Speakers, BC is a dual certified family physician, certified in both the UK and Canada, and currently works as a family physician in Canada, Ontario, Canada. So without going so far into his portfolio, I'm sure we've all had time to go through it and seen just how much of a credible resource we have presenting this topic to us. So over to you, Dr. Muadh.
Yeah, thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Am I audible enough for everyone?
Yeah, very audible, very audible. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm very happy to be in your midst. I pray Allah, guide me in this presentation I'm about to deliver to you guys. It's a privilege to be chosen to deliver this interesting lecture. And you all know about the topic already. It is burnout and balance, managing stress in a fast-paced world. I've tried to put up a couple of the topic, when I was told I had to choose between, either of the topics we're addressing today, I sort of chose this one because it's in a way I can relate to it. And I thought it would be best to go with something I can relate to and I can share my thoughts with you guys. To go I would also like to, get you guys involved, as much as you can. I'm not going to be able to, I don't know how to see the screen, but you can make it to the chat, the box in there, and, put in responses as need be. So let's go forward. So quick check-in with everybody today. How are we doing today? You can use one word, put in how you're feeling today. Are you feeling tired? Are you feeling exhausted? Are you feeling, happy, full of energy? Are you overwhelmed? You can put it in the box how you're feeling. It's good to know that, because there is a poet, his name is Ibn Arabi, and he's a very, very, famous poet in the early Islamic century, where he said this: he who knows himself knows his Lord. And I think it's one of the, important things we should know. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. If you know yourself, you know how you're feeling, you have a lot of insight into what you need to do. You have a lot of insight into how you can address a problem. But you don't have insight into a problem, it's self-defeating already. You don't even know how to solve the problem because you don't even know yourself. So I think we should, have a bit of introspection now and think about it. Like, how am I truly feeling right now? Am I overwhelmed? Am I exhausted? Am I all of the above? Am I feeling that way? Put in a chat box, tell me how you're feeling in one word. And that way we can, it could start to make sense when we start to talk about the topic in details. And moving forward, I'm going to go a bit into what we know about stress or burnout. There is a clinical psychologist called Christina Maslach. She's one of the top-most research consultants you find in the field of burnout. And the WHO had a definition for it, and Maslach also had a definition for it. WHO defines, burnout as a chronic workplace stress not successfully managed. That's what the World Health Organization defines that. But Christina Maslach, who has done a lot of research into burnout, she had a different dimension over it. And she talks about how, it's involved into three things. Number one, you're first and foremost exhausted. You have this emotional exhaustion. Then you sort of have this cynicism about yourself. You start to have what we call an imposter syndrome. And this imposter syndrome, I'm going to talk to you about it a bit, which you might start to see yourself, in that category, especially if you're somebody who is, easily overwhelmed. And as a result of that imposter syndrome, what happens next is you start to have reduced personal accomplishment. And it starts off with you being overwhelmed with quite a lot of things that you want to do. Then as a result of that, you develop this imposter syndrome. At the end of it, you sort of, just cut yourself out of things, and, you have reduced outcome in terms of what you can do. So that was Maslach's definition of what burnout means. And there is an inventory scale that was used to measure it. Again, we don't have to put ourselves about this. This is just, for academic purpose. So what does Islam say? Islam, already, encourages us to have a balanced, life. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. And we have made you a balanced nation. This is what it is said in the Quran about what Muhammad, wants us to have, balance in terms of our lives. He doesn't want us to overburden ourselves. He doesn't want us to tilt to one side of our the aspect of in our lives to one side, and let the other part of our lives go into tatters. So you have to have that balance in terms of your worship, in terms of your work, rest, family. And it is not about quantity now, it's about quality of what you do. And I think we should actually put that at the back of our mind, because we try to take up on a lot of things which might not actually be something we can handle. And to be fair, Allah has already said in the Quran that He will not actually overburden anybody beyond what they can actually take. So you have to be able to understand yourself. And this is why I asked in the first instance about how are you feeling today. You have to be able to know what you're feeling. You have to be able to tell I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Okay, I still have a bit of energy in me. I can keep going. And you need to know that when one aspect of your life is actually getting the brunt of it, then you're getting exhausted. You're not achieving that balance. For instance, you go to work every day. As a result of that work, you're not able to pray 5 times daily. That's not balance. You go to work every day. You're able to pray your salah, but you don't have time for your family. You do your tahajjud, but you don't have time for family. That's not balance. Or you do everything, but you're not even rested. You're not getting enough sleep at night. That's not balance. So there's barakah in balance, not burnout. Moving forward, because I think we've got some, little time to go on. What are the signs to know you're actually experiencing burnout? Number one, you get chronic fatigue, feeling tired all the time. You just can't explain it. You can't put a finger on it. Why am I feeling this way? Fatigue is one of the early signs. Then you start to become irritable. You just start to get moody, getting angry at people for things that you probably wouldn't. You start to sleep poorly. You find out that you go to bed early. You can initiate sleep. You initiate sleep on time. At times you might find yourself waking up a bit too often. Some people wake up like every 1 hour, every 2 hours. They don't know why they've woken up. It's not because they're actually in any discomfort or pain. They just keep waking up. So poor sleep is another sign that you're actually burning out. And withdrawal, you just find yourself not being in the midst of people. You just want to be alone, secluding yourself. Those are the sort of signs you might experience if you're burning out. If you've experienced any of this, you might be experiencing burnout. Okay, so I'm going to go a bit more specific now to, I know we have a mixed demographic here in the audience. People who are married, we have, parents amongst us. We have students, we have the, self-employed folks. So who are the, for the married folks and the parents here, one of the signs of which you might be, getting these burnout symptoms is you have this disconnection with your partner. And I think, fair enough, there is, times where, in your marriage, you'd find, the proximity and the closeness you have with your partner is at the peak. You find, you get along easily, and there's times where you feel drawn apart. If you find consistently that the times you're finding yourself being drawn apart from your partner is getting too much, then you need to have an introspection and say, what is the reason? And one of the common reason is either you're also very overwhelmed by a lot of things. It could be financial reasons, it could be work, it could be the kids' health, it could be your own health. Those are the signs that that something is wrong. I'm actually burning out at the moment. I'm not achieving balance right now. And as a parent, it could be also, you could have some guilt over your time because you are somewhat drawn apart from the responsibilities you have to your spouse and also to your kids. So you are pressed for time. And as a result of that, you're trying to do everything at the same time. And what you find is you get overwhelmed and easily burn out as well. And you start to feel tired as well with the fatigue. So these can happen. And it is good to, again, take a step back and understand what you're feeling. And I think that is the most important part of whatever it is you have to take away from this. You also need to know when you've hit your limit. What is my limit? When am I experiencing any of this? Is there anything I can see out of what I'm what I have said today that you can relate to? And you should take that back with you and try to maybe do a journal of it and actually look at how your time is being split, whether with work, whether with your worship, whether with family, whether with your academics and all that. And the next set of demographics or people that we should, also talk about is, people who work, in the public service, in the private service, or self-employed people, the 9-to-5 workers. You probably have to, journey to work, early in the morning every day. You start off at you probably wake up probably from Lagos traffic. You wake up at 6. You have to get to work at 9. You're already tired before you get there. You also have a lot of demand from your employer. You have to do that all day. You leave work at 5. You have to take the same journey back to your residence. All that. It's going to cause a bit of burden on your body, and you might at some point, if you carry on that way, with that pattern, you might find yourself getting fatigued, and that fatigue, as I said, it would also have its own consequences. You start to, feel irritable, just getting angry and moody at people without no sort of justification for it. And again, because of the way the work is, some people have no sort of pathway to actually getting promotion at work, and they feel this lack of purpose because of this repetitive action they have to do every day, and maybe they're not actually also fulfilled from the job, or whether they are not the income or the incentive from the job is not also the best. So all this would make you just have this low self-esteem, and it just trickles down that way, where you just become a different old person. Especially people around you will start to notice it as well. And the people who are also self-employed, it's a whole lot of risk being self-employed, because you taking on a business where the loss and the profit from it comes to you. You don't, at times you might not, if it's an early business where you don't actually have good grounds or good capital, good backup, you might want to overwork yourself so that you can meet up with targets which you've set for yourself. So that target means you're going to be putting a lot of more burden on yourself, and that in a way would be a precipice to burning out. The other demographic I think we should mention is the students and the unemployed, and I think we should talk about imposter syndrome now. Okay, so imposter syndrome is when someone who is actually competent, they doubt their abilities and fear they are a fraud. Okay, it is known that you have a particular set of skills. It is known that you have a set of talent, or you're good at something, but as a result of the pressure around you, maybe you're being overworked, for instance, you start to doubt whether you are actually competent enough to do it, even though it is known objectively that you actually have the skills to do it. Then you start to question yourself: what if I'm not actually good enough? What if every success I've achieved was out of luck? What if they find out that I'm not actually this good? Then you start to do things to want to prove yourself beyond what you should actually do. So you start to overwork. And when you start to overwork, you start to go into burnout. And what happens next is that you keep doubting yourself and doubting yourself. And this is the part where we actually need to also understand the Islamic, angle around this. Allah encourages us to be humble, you understand, and at the same time to also, to trust in Him, and for every sort of achievement we encounter, we should be quick to thank Allah for it. And at the same time, anything we achieve is not out of our own might. When we actually start off from that precipice, you are humble about your skills or your talent, and you believe everything comes from Allah, or in terms of what you can achieve, then it's a good ground for you not to have this imposter syndrome, because imposter syndrome is you actually believing that the credentials you have is enough for you to do it. That's an initial precipice, in terms of initial premise. But that is not enough, because if you do not factor in the fact that there might also be divine intervention in terms of how you've achieved those things, you will always feel that your actions alone will be enough for you to do things. And this is where you push yourself to the limits more and more and more in terms of proving your worth, which is not the case. So the imposter syndrome is something that can actually happen to people in schools at the moment. If you are doing a postgraduate degree, or you're doing a PhD degree at the moment, you probably have gone through your undergraduate degree, having all A's or first class, and then you go into your master's degree or your postgraduate degree, you start to doubt yourself, like, what if I'm not good enough? What if all that I achieved was not? But you should remember, it's not by your might, it's by Allah's might, and that way you can actually not have this imposter syndrome. So moving on quickly, sorry, we mentioned quite a number of stuff here about the root causes of burnout: overcommitment, poor boundaries, misaligned values, lack of control and support. All these are actually causes of the burnout you might experience. Um, Perfection, balance is not perfection. Balance is not symmetry or equal hours. It has to be intention, rhythm, and renewal. And Islam, promotes this, not perfection. So we have to make sure that it's not all about the quantity or how much you can do. It's about the quality you can give to each. And even the best of deed, the Prophet said when I had it, the best of deed is not the one you do a lot of. It's the little ones which you're consistent with. So even though you're not able to, work 16 hours a day, you're only doing your 8 hours as a self-employed person, but able to give a bit of hours for your salat, you're able to give a bit of hours to your family, you're able to give a bit of hours to rest it. That is the balance which the Prophet promotes, which Allah has actually also would encourage us to do. So moving on again quickly, we've now understand burnout and what the causes. So what are the things we're going to do about it? Medical prevention tips here. We've got to sleep. Think of the body as a machine, which is actually just like a mill work. Just running and running all day. If you don't give it time to sort of rest, it can shut down. In a not so nice way. Think of it like a computer. You use your computer for so long, at times something doesn't work on it. You click on an icon, you think it would come up, it would not come up. Then you'd have to do like a hard reset to get it up. And that hard reset is probably the sleep the computer should have had, probably from hours of it being used. So think of it that way. The body needs some sleep. Ideally, they say 7 to 8 hours. But to be fair, I'm not even sure about the hours anymore. I'm not sure anybody sleeps 8 hours anymore. My kids do, though. Adults, that hours is a bit needs to be updated anyway. But 5-6 hours will be fine. You don't have to sleep. Make sure you sleep the whole 8 hours. So people even have afternoon naps, which is good. So sleeping is very, very good. It takes it lets your brain to recover quickly. It makes you more productive when you wake up, because when you wake up, the brain you can think of new ideas. You can actually break things down more easily. Hydration is good. You want to make sure you're drinking enough fluids. Most of the ways your body metabolism works is hinged on the amount of fluid in your body. So if you're not drinking enough, metabolism in your body won't work. Your brain won't function at the optimum. Your heart won't pump as it should be. Your bowels won't work as it should be. So that in itself will cause you to have physical fatigue. We're not even talking about mental fatigue. You'd have physical fatigue. You literally feel tired because your muscles will not be able to work as they should be. Your bones would, also ache. So hydration is very important. Walking and stretching. I mean, this is one of the highly recommended, tips we give to patients who have mental health issues, depression, anxiety, all that bit. Walking and stretching, it is set to improve the dopamine in your body. Dopamine is like a chemical in your body that, it's like the happy hormone, let's put it that way. And it is found that you walk, you stretch, you do a bit of exercise, running here and there, it improves the dopamine in the body. And when the dopamine level is good, it means you are in a good mood. And when you're in a good mood, you're able to be more productive. You're not, and you can easily also introspect quickly. But when you're in a bad mood, you're just angry. You're not even going to be productive. You're just going to be irritable. Yeah, exercise is good. Mindful breaks, 3 minutes of deep breathing, very good as well. It relaxes you. If you're somebody who is very anxious and get overwhelmed easily, you want to do this quite often, really, because one of the things that happens with people who get anxious often is they start to have what we call palpitation. Their heart races fast. They get sweaty a bit. They are panicky. Their hands go tingly. But these mindful breaks, they're very good, especially with the deep breathing. You're taking deep breath in, deep breath out. The way we used to do it then. So all this is good for to help reduce your burnout. You have this intermittently during your your daily activities. Get good sleep, make sure you're drinking enough water, you having a bit of walk and stretching here and there, you're having, some deep breathing. This will, in a way, reduce your mental fatigue or your physical fatigue. Moving forward quickly, what are the things we can do spiritually to actually also, relieve ourselves from, give ourselves relief from burnout? Sujood, the best relief is in position. And to be fair, if you're somebody who prays your 5 times a day, and you're not, again, we do all of our style of prayer, and you are calm when you're praying, you go into your sujood and you're cool in the normal way where you're speaking to Allah there. There is a calmness that comes with it when you're not rushing it now. There's a calmness that comes with it, even with other acts of worship like zikr, when you are actually deeply meditating about the Quran, or you're actually doing dhikr at the time, it calms your mind. And again, you're not setting out a whole lot of time for these things. How long does it take to observe maybe Dhuhr or Asr, that 4 rakah in that? It takes you just at most, even if you're going to read the longest of surah, it shouldn't be more than 10-15 minutes, you see. And those minutes there, they are good because you're able to take yourself away from the old rigors of what you've been going through, and that break you're giving yourself is very, very important, or else you just get fatigued easily. And you need to trust in Qadar. Not a lot of things is in your control. I can, no. You shouldn't use the I can. It is, a might, if Allah allows me, if Allah wishes it, if Allah wills it. When you understand that premise, it makes a lot of other things easy for you, because you'll be starting with that notion that it is not in your control. So you don't need to overburden yourself. You don't need to overwork yourself. And that is something maybe we all sort of need to work on a bit more. A lot of people, they look at it, I put in all this effort and nothing's come through. It's because it's not in your control. It's because it's in Allah's control. Oh, I've read and I've not really gotten A's in this exam. Why have that not happened? And that person has just done a bit and they've aced it. It's because it's not in your control. I work, 16 hours a day, and I still can't make ends meet. Why is that the case? It's because it's not in your control. You understand? So we need to let a little bit of burden away from ourselves and actually focus more on the might of Allah in our daily life. The way your heart beats, the way your bowels work, the way your brain functions, it's not in your control. So, and then the things within your control is the trust in Allah, the work you put in, which again has to be enough. You don't have to do too much to take you away from the from the responsibility which Allah has actually put on you. The one as a husband, the one as a mother, the one as a wife, the one as a child to their parents. You don't want to forget all those as well. So you have to put that at the back of our mind as well. So moving on quickly. We've got a couple of tips here for the parents. You want to delegate things. Don't take too much on yourself. You've got let's say you've got the dishes to do. You've got the beans to put out you've got rubbish to put in the beans. You've got sorry. I thought somebody said something. So you've got quite a lot of chores to do. Split among yourself. Let somebody do it. Don't take everything on yourself. You understand? And be quick to be able to seek for help. Brother, or what people call themselves these days. Sweetheart, darling. Could you help me with this? And then yes, and that way, you don't take too much on yourself. Tech-free family time, very important. A lot of people are glued to their phones, and I'm sure the next presenter will be dwelling more on this. People are glued to their phone where they cannot have proper interactions with themselves anymore. So you want to be able to talk to yourself and actually share some of the things you go through every day. Oh gosh, today was a bit difficult. I had this from work, this my boss saying this. And when you can communicate all that, it takes a bit of burden away from yourself. And I know some men will say, you don't have to talk about your feelings, and some men will be too shy to talk to their husband, but you need to talk to each each other. Communication is very good. It takes away a lot of that burden which you would have from all the. Again, they might not be able to provide you a solution or advice about it, but it means you're not alone anymore. Okay, and at times you don't even have certain perspective about how you can solve a problem. Sharing it with another person who is actually a partner might be a good way to start. Workers, you want to take breaks from work. You want to, if it's somebody who stands a lot of work, try to tell your boss, I want to take, maybe every 15 minutes, just to stretch my legs, have a walk around. As for flexibility, if your work can actually accommodate hybrid work where you work from home, where you can work from in the office, you can request for it. Hopefully your employer is nice enough to say yes. For students, you want to plan your deadlines. You don't want to be somebody, you want to have a plan. You want to also work with your colleagues. You don't want to work alone, so that at times to get from point A to point B might just be, might take lesser if you sought advice from somebody. But if you think, oh, I know it all, you go it and you find that you spend more time rather than actually asking people to help you out. So self-employed people, make sure you define your work hours and stick by the work hours. I know we have this zeal to want to overwork ourselves so that we can make more and, yeah, but again, it's not always the case. It's not always about the amount of time you spend at work that would actually translate to how much you would make, unfortunately. That's reality. So you have to be able to realize that you need to do enough for yourself and for the family and other aspects of your life. The unemployed, you need to do more, get yourself out there, volunteer for things, put yourself and get yourself busy and have a routine to it. So those are the points that I think might be relevant to us. I think we're spending so much time. I'm just going to round off quickly. Write down one thing that drains you and one thing that restores you. Go back today, have some introspection about things, and then try and see the things that drains you. List them out. Try and think of the things that can actually do to balance things out. And if you can have that awareness, you can have some better energy regulation. I'm going to share a story about, it's just a case reflection here. So there's a 34-year-old mother. She's a part-time teacher. She finds herself exhausted. She's struggling to balance online classes. She's got a toddler. She's got family responsibilities. And why this is the case, for most of our mothers and, wives, And one thing that Sarah started to do is she started to take some walks after Fajr, plug her phone during dinner time. She started journaling as well. Journaling is very, very good. It's the same as meditating, you see. But this time around, you're putting it into, in a paper. And she's also been doing this to sort of relieve herself from burnout. One small action you want to take this week, please write it down, commit to it, and start with Bismillah. Again, it's not your might, it's Allah's might. So whatever it is you want to do, make sure you're putting it in Allah's control and actually doing your best to actually meet up with it. It could be sleep, it could be saying no, it could be walking, it could be dua, it could be unplugging after work, it could be meditation, it could be anything. Just think about something, one small action, and put it into use. What are the resources we've got for you? Don't be sad. It's a good one. Edit hours is good. Some very good apps there. Mindful Muslim, Muadh, they're very important. And I've got a personal balance sheet worksheet I'll share with the organizers here. Is to reflect on the things that stresses you, that cause you to have the burnouts. Identify them, set intention for the week, and Allah will guide you. And closing dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hadan wa a'udhu bika min al-'ajzi wal-kasal. This is a prayer which the Prophet encouraged us to say. Allah is free from anxiety and grief, from incapacity and laziness. Burnout doesn't always mean you're failing at something. It's always a time to just refresh, replug yourself. As I've said with the computer, when the computer is, in quote, hanging, or the icons are not working, what do? You do a hard reset. You unplug it from the socket, and it start working again when you restart it. So it means you just need to restart again, and then you should be able to realize it, and then Allah would make everything easier. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan. I don't know if Dr. Muadh is still on the call.
Yes, I'm still here, but I've got to go quickly now. I don't know if anyone's got any questions for me before I leave.
Now, please, if you have questions, just raise your hand, and then you can quickly get the answered and move on to the next on the agenda. Questions. Okay, I see no hands raised. So I'm assuming every one of us has taken all what Dr. Muadh has said, into consideration. We've all taken notes, and we've all understood. We all understand what he discussed today with us. Okay, sorry, there's a question in the chat box. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, so the question here is burnout the same as depression, or are they different conditions?
Yeah, well, no, they're two different things. Burnout is it can be a catalyst to getting depressed, yes. Depression is a clinical thing. It is when you have sustained low mood for a period of time. And as I've said, one of the features when you burn out is you become irritable. Then you start to seclude yourself. You start to put yourself in, seclusion. You do that for a while, you start to get depressed. So yes, no, they're different, but one can lead to the other. Yes.
Okay, welcome for that answer. Do we have any other question? None. Okay, so I think we would let Dr. Muadh move on to his other engagements.
Thank you very much.
All
right, Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. May Allah actually guide you all and make the lecture beneficial for all of us. And I look forward to hanging out with you again, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Ustad Muadh, please, before you go, we just want to say token of appreciation before you leave. This has been a very lovely session with you. May Allah reward you abundantly. And we want to say, as expected of Muslims, I want everybody to say Jazakumullah khairan for this beautiful gift from Ustad and Dr. Tajudeen Muadh. Jazakumullah khairan kathira. Can we say that as well? Probably on the chat, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khairan.
Well, yeah, Jazakumullah khairan to you too. All right. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. Now, I'm sure we've all learned a lot from our first speaker. We must have learned all about the causes of burnout, how to ensure we have a balance life between work, between our solar, balancing our life, our work, our solar, and all of that together. So inshallah, we'd also be getting the slides from Dr. Muadh and share with us as well after this session. So before we move on to our next speaker, our next topic, we actually have, we have a partner, a recent partner who would like to speak to us on an event they are planning towards. And this organization is the Quran Crescendo. Let me see if we have now. Okay, we have them here. So the Quran Crescendo would like to speak to all of us about an upcoming event that they have been planning towards. So now, you can unmute yourself.
Naam, Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please confirm that you can hear me. Okay, now, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I say assalamu alaikum to everyone on the call. My name is Alamin, and I'm here as a representative of the Quran Crescendo. To start off, a lot of us are familiar with stories from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his Sahaba. And one of the very, very beautiful, very most interesting stories, one of the most interesting stories that have been passed down to us was the story of the conversion of, or reversion of, Umar bin Khattab, a man that was one of the toughest against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam before he became Muslim. And we know the story of when he got out very committed to go on and take the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he branched his sister's house, and he happened to hear them reciting something strange, something that seemed like what this Muhammad used to recite. And he got into the house, and Umar ibn Khattab, he requested that the paper that's being read, or the slates that's being read be brought to him. And Umar read some verses of Surah Taha. And that moment changed the life of Umar bin Khattab completely. And when he moved on to the house of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he got out of his house with the intention to kill, but he got to the house of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the intention to accept. And there are many stories like this across the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but across the lives of the Sahabas that we know. They listen to the Quran, they hear the Quran, they interact with the Quran, and the Quran has an effect in them that's incomparable to any way that many of us know. When we hear stories like this, and we hear stories of the jinn that Allah described in Surah Al-Ahqaf, that heard the Prophet ﷺ recite the Quran, and immediately their statement was Inna sami'na Qur'anan ajaba. Their very first words for the description of this thing that they've just listened to is that we've heard a wonderful recitation. And I read these stories as a Muslim, and I question myself, I ask myself, these people, if disbelievers could hear stories like this, and immediately their hearts begin to turn, why is it that I, that have been a Muslim all my life, I open the Quran and I do not feel anything? Or I open the Quran and all I can really imagine is me going through the words of the Quran. But when I look at that book on the shelf, it doesn't really feel like anything to me. I don't really see it as the biggest thing to ever happen to human beings. And that is the problem that the Quran Crescendo is trying to solve. We've built a very strong interaction with the Quran in terms of the superficial parts. There are more huffaz in the world today than there have ever been. And all of this exists today. But when you compare our lifestyles today and the way we live today to what the Quran actually says, you would see that there is a big disconnect. And the problem arises, and there has to be a solution for it. The Quran Crescendo is the solution that we are trying to bring to help Muslims across Nigeria reconnect their hearts to the Book of Allah. We had the first edition. I'm quite sure a lot of us would know about the first edition, the Quran Crescendo 1.0 that happened last year. And we had conversations and discussions with scholars that actually turned our hearts and turned our minds to really understand, how does the Quran actually affect me and how does it translate in my life today? And this year, inshallah, we're doing something even better than that, in the sense that we're expanding the impact across two different events within the period. We're going to have the Quran competition, Saylu Tanzil, that's going to bring memorizers of the Quran for 2 days. And this is only for those that want to participate in the competition. And then we have the conference itself, which is also for 2 days. The theme for this year's event is transformed, threading the illuminated path. And our goal is to find a way that Muslims today can begin to really own into what the Quran is really asking for. When Allah says, Aqimis salata li dhikri, and Allah says, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, how do I really own into that? How do I really internalize that in my own life? Because I do all of these actions and they don't seem to bring this result. And so our goal is to reconnect the hearts of Muslims to what the Quran actually wants from us. The event is happening from the 25th to 29th of June. As I said, the first part of it is the Quran competition, and the last part of it is the Quran conference itself. And we started releasing some of our speakers, and some of us here may be aware already. One of our speakers is the founder of Vanguard's Academy itself. So it is an event that we would really, really benefit from. And Alhamdulillah, we're really grateful to be partnering with the Vanguard's All Student Association. And what we're offering is part of what we're also offering, of course, amongst many things, is an opportunity to attend the event as a group with a discounted price. We are providing access to for 30 people to attend the event by paying 200,000 naira as a group instead of 240,000 naira. And of course, for more individuals, as stated in our communication to the leadership, we have more discounts that will be available. And so this is what we're proposing to the group. The programs and activities done by VAOSA is one that actually shows that this community partnership is much required. And I ask Allah to make it one that is going to provide us with so many results. I know we're going to have questions. I do not intend to disrupt the sessions that's been going on already and the one that's going to come. So we have an Ask Me Anything AMA session tonight on X Space. So you can be sure to join us. You can go to your Instagram. You can search for the.quran.crescendo. That's the.quran.crescendo. And also on X, I would drop the links in the chat here with the permission of the admin. And inshallah, I ask Allah to make us people of the Quran. I ask Allah to grant us the ability to understand the Quran and apply it in our lives, and not be people that would just have it in their heads and their hands, but not have it in their hearts. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks, for that explanation. And I'm hoping those of us here would be making intention, will be intending to attend the events when the time comes. So I'm sure we've all been waiting to move on to the next speaker, the next topic, which is
please, before the next speaker, I would like to make a comment about the just concluded presentation. Can I go ahead, sir?
No, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Jazakumullah. I want to appreciate the team, the Quran Crescendo team, for this laudable initiative. May Allah reward you all abundantly. I see it as an opportunity for our members to, participate in something great and benefit immensely. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal to our membership. Should, in case we have anyone among us who will be willing to sponsor, our members participating in this event, we would appreciate it. It's something that is very, very okay. When we sponsor something like this, we can have our members participate in it for free without having to pay anything. Of course, it has been subsidized, but if we can get someone, donates the 200,000 naira, as said earlier, we can have 30 of our members, or even solicit for more, participate in this program, inshallah. So I just wanted to add this to the presentation just completed. So I pray that Allah rewards the organizers abundantly and bless us with the blessings of the Quran. Jazakumullah khair.
No. So now, inshallah, moving on to the next speaker and the next topic, which is digital health, how screens affect your mind and body. And this will be taken by Hajia Zainab Olurode. I don't know if she's currently on the call.
I'm here.
Okay. Now, Bismillah, you have the floor.
Yes, one moment. I'll just share my screen.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Am I audible?
No, yes, you are.
All right then. I wanted to first welcome everyone again, and it's such an honor to be speaking with everyone today. So we're going to be speaking on the topic digital health, how screens affect our mind and our bodies. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is for us to first acknowledge the fact that our screens, when we say screens, we mean all of our devices, our phones, our laptop, TV, smartwatches, and any other thing that is a screen, really. And when we also say screen, it's also it's a blanket term for every other thing that comes with the screen, whether it's social media, whether it's lifestyle apps, whether it's just regular apps on our phone. Everything comes together to form what we call screen. So our screen is shaping us, and too much screen time can impact many things in our life. We don't just use screens, from our sleep to stress to our physical health. Our minds and our bodies are constantly responding to screen use, and screen use can affect us, our eye health, our brain health, and also our social behavior. So what are the physical effects of screen on our body? The first one that I would like to talk about is sleep disruption. So using screens late at night, it reduces the amount of deep and restorative sleep that we have, which is a kind of sleep that our brain really needs to reset. And disrupting our natural sleep cycle can also contribute to mental health issues like depression. And many of us were familiar with Surah An-Naba, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا. Yes, and we made your sleep a means of rest for you, which is a reminder that sleep is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should protect at all costs. The another important thing that we should note about sleep disruption is that there's a particular part of our sleep. When people who are sleep experts, they divide sleep into several stages, and one of the stages is the stage called the rapid eye movement sleep. So during this stage, the things that we have done during the day, activities, things that we learned, new knowledge, it is at this point of our sleep that our brain tries to consolidate our memory and also tries to process emotions that have happened throughout the day. So especially for young people, this stage of our sleep is very, very important to help us to retain things that we have learned. Another physical effect of screens on our body is on our eye strain. Eye strain is something that is very common, especially for people who work remotely, which is a lot of people these days. So ophthalmologists have said that one of the most common causes of eye strain is computer and digital screen use, and they usually advise that we should follow the 20-20-20 rule, which is to take a small break every 20 minutes to focus your eyes on something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. And so this helps to take our eye off the screen. It makes us intentional about protecting our eyes from the effects of the screen. Another physical effect of screens on our body is reduced movements. I know that some of us will have heard of the term couch potato. So these days, there are so many people who end up being couch potatoes because we spend hours on our phones, on our laptops, which means we are usually sitting, which also means less physical activity. And over time, this lack of movement, it affects both our physical and mental health, because we know that exercise usually boosts our mood, it improves our focus, and it helps us to reduce stress. So when we are constantly on our screen, the more time we spend glued to our screens, the less we move, and this makes us feel increasingly sluggish, anxious, and also disconnected from the physical world around us. Another thing is neck and back pain. Our posture matters a lot, and our posture usually suffers from long hours on screen. Sometimes it can even be unconsciously. We have craned our neck in a particular way that is not good in the long term. If it just happens on a one-off, it may not really affect us, but we all know that after a while, you have maybe a particular corner of the sofa where you like to relax and just scroll through your phone, and there's a particular posture that you assume, or when you are working, there's a particular posture that you assume. Or some of us, especially those of us that may be doing remote work, maybe there's a certain way that your chair is arranged, your table, and all of this are contributing to a bad posture. And constantly looking down at screens, especially on our smartphones, it weakens our neck, it causes pain, and can even lead to structural issues. There's this syndrome now called the tech neck, which is something that doctors are increasingly having to deal with because of use of screen. Next, we are going to talk about how screens affect our brain. So The first one is the neurological effects of the screen on our brain. Our brain adapts to what it repeatedly does. Like if that's why people who are maybe into sports, people who are into arts, or even anything generally, something that is a skill, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Which means that constant screen use, it changes the way our brain is wired. And our brain is made up of something called the gray matter. So after a while, when you are constantly being exposed to screen, especially excessive screen use, it can lead to lower gray matter volume, which impacts the areas that are responsible for controlling memory, judgments, and self-control. Also, excessive screen time is also linked to reduction in brain tissue that is vital for memory, for movement, and for emotion. Usually, as we grow older, this shrinkage is natural, but then excessive screen use accelerates it. It makes it more profound. That's why you may find out that maybe you're forgetting stuff, or that maybe you're finding it hard to retain new information. Another thing is impulse control. So impulse control is being able to maybe delay gratification, or maybe refuse things that maybe feel pleasurable but are not exactly good for you. So many times researchers have found out that passive screen use is actually very similar for our brain, is very similar to the way our body will react to junk food. Junk food feels sweet. It feels like, oh, a quick fix. But then in the long term, it's not good for our body. So passive screen use gives short-term pleasure, but no real mental benefits, just like the way junk food does for our brain. And it also affects our habits, like maybe our exercise. Like we said, it prevents you from moving frequently. It also affects our sleep, it affects our social interaction, and all of these things are important to preserve our brain health. Another thing that is very important is dopamine overload. I think Dr. Muadh mentioned something about that in his talk as well. So dopamine is a hormone that is released by our brain. So screen time, especially social media, it triggers the release of dopamine, which creates a pleasure reward cycle, which is much like something that is much like what happens with people that have addiction issues, like people that are maybe into substance abuse and all of that. When you constantly give your brain a high boost of dopamine, so dopamine makes you feel good about something. So when you're constantly exposed to this hormone, like maybe you post something, people like it, people share it, people interact with it, it makes you feel good. This cycle, the way it works is that when your brain is overloaded with that, the next time you want to feel good that way, you need to up the dose of it, which is also the same way it works with substance abuse. You have to up the dose to help you get to that feeling of being high. So over time, this reduces your impulse control, and it also affects your brain's frontal cortex, which is the place that is responsible for decision making. So just like substance abuse, you usually need more screen engagement to feel the same high, which can lead to poor judgments and harmful habits. Another thing that is very important is the mental battery that is just there with our screen use. This area is especially focused on the social media use. So the first one is comparison trap, because we know that on social media, people just show you what they want you to see. Social media often shows a filtered version of people's life. People would show you their fun, flawless, very curated sides of their life. And constant exposure to this can lead to unhealthy comparisons and lower self-esteem. We start to feel like we are missing out on something, which increases anxiety. You see somebody that is maybe traveling, somebody that is always posting that, oh, they're on a vacation, or they've just bought new clothes, or they've just started a new job. It's not, I know for some people now, as we are talking about this, Instagram may be coming to mind. It's not only Instagram, like other places as well. Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, even LinkedIn is a big corporate. Like, you just see people, everybody, congratulations. You just be wondering what's going on with my life. So we start to feel like we are missing out, which increases anxiety. Also, another thing is that endless notifications and tailored contents can overwhelm us. Every time your phone is pinging, is giving you a sound that, oh, somebody has interacted with your content, somebody has commented, somebody has liked, somebody has shared. All of this, they overwhelm us. And also the information that we are getting, the information overload, it blurs the truth. You cannot separate the truth from opinion. And because of the way algorithms also work, which I will speak on much later again, the way algorithm works, they only show you what you want to see, or what's something that is based on what you have already interacted with, which means that much of what you are seeing, it only reinforces what you already believe in. So this creates like, it's called an echo chamber, which means that it's the same thing that you keep seeing over and over again, and it just keeps reinforcing the beliefs that you already have, even if those beliefs are wrong. And also, it also feels like a mob mentality. There are many things that people do on social media that they do because other people are doing it. And it also makes it harder to think critically or connect to people authentically, because people don't show you their true selves. And also, you're not even sure whether what you're interacting with, whether it's real or it's fake. And this also brings us to another thing, which is like, when you are using social media or your screens, when you use them too much, it leads to waste of time. We all know that you don't know, you just want to, oh, I want to quickly check this message, and before you know it, you've spent 1 hour, 2 hours on that social media app. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that there are 2 blessings which many people lose without them realizing. The first one is our health, and the second one is free time. Many times our free time is occupied by just scrolling. And time and health are often wasted through excessive, mindless screen use. So we must protect both of these things very intentionally. And the next thing is how screens affect our social behavior. This one is a very big one, and it's something that may not exactly be evident. You may not even notice if somebody does not point it out to you. Unlike the other parts that are maybe like the social effects of screen on our behavior or on our body. You can feel when your neck starts to hurt. You can feel when your eye starts to hurt. You can feel when you're not sleeping properly. Maybe you start having headache. But with your social behavior, you never really know when your use of screen is affecting the way you think. That is what this is about. When your use of screen, your use of social media, your interactions online, they start to affect the way you think. They start to affect your opinions, your beliefs. So the first one is that algorithms shape what we see. Social media shows us content that boost engagement. They are not necessarily the truth. They determine how, and for people who are not very familiar with maybe these social media terms, algorithms is like the technology that curates what comes to your timeline, what you see, who you see, what you see, which ideas, which messages, which people you see. That is what the algorithm is. Before, as humans, before the advent of social media, we usually took cues from prestigious people in the society. Or maybe someone is a doctor, or someone is a professor, or someone has a good standing in the community. We learn from them because these people are successful and their behavior can be copied. And also because there's like a communal agreement on what is regarded as social norms, paying attention to people who violate moral norms also work, because the community as a whole sanctions these people, and it's ultimately guides your own behavior as a person. Like, oh, like this thing is not good in the community, this thing hurts people or it harms people. You get your cues from all of these things. But how does social media change this? Social media does not just influence what we do, it changes how we see the world. Because algorithms prioritize content that keep us hooked, even if it's misleading information, even if it's divisive. And also because it's easy to gain fake prestige on social media. Anybody can appear influential. Like, people buy followers these days. That's not even a new thing. Like 5, 6 10 years ago, people have started buying followers. Just somebody has, that person has 250K followers. You don't know what percentage of these followers are actually true. But because you feel like they have a large following, you feel like they are an authority in the area that they are talking about. So your mind automatically feels comfortable listening to them and taking their opinions as truths. So fake prestige is very easy. People who appear successful may simply just be gaming the system. You don't know. And then we also see more moral outrage and conflicts and less genuine cooperation. When I was preparing this part of my presentation, Twitter just immediately came to mind. There are so many things on Twitter that don't actually reflect true life behavior or circumstances. So many things we see, like, and over time you realize that your view of reality starts to shift. Suddenly extreme behaviors, they seem normal, and traditional values seem like maybe they are oppressive or limiting. So when you start to notice these things, it's important to ask yourself some critical questions. And the first one is that, is your opinion, is it really yours, or is just what the algorithm wants you to believe? And sometimes even like maybe our purchasing behavior is affected by social media a lot. So sometimes you should ask yourself, do you really need to buy that thing that you want to buy, or someone somewhere wants you to buy it? And then, because these days influencers are a very huge part of marketing, you find even big corporations that already have like established presence spending a large part of their budgets on influencer marketing. So you don't really know whether someone somewhere is getting paid to influence your decision to buy that thing. So you should ask yourself these critical questions to be sure that that thing that you are doing, is it just because you are feeling pressure to follow trends, or is it actually what you believe? And even things that some people post online is not a reflection of their true selves. It's just what they want you to think. So you should ask yourself these critical questions. So now that we have talked about all of these things, how can we reclaim control from our strengths? So the good news is that you can always reset it, just like Dr. Muadh mentioned as well. You can always reset. You can always unplug and restart yourself. So what are the things that you can do to help yourself? The first thing is that you should start your day tech-free. In the morning, a lot of us know that instinctively, especially if you sleep with your phone beside you, as soon as you open your eyes, there's this very strong urge to just reach out for your phone and just see. Even if it's just to check the time. Majority of us don't have maybe bedside clocks or anything like that. So just reach out for your phone and check the time. And then when you are checking the time, a notification pops in and you're like, oh, I really need to attend to this very quickly. And that's how you get into the rabbit hole. And before you know it, 3 hours of the first 3 hours of your open eye are gone, just looking at your screen. So start your day tech-free, and also create screen boundaries. You have to be really intentional about that. And also, you can also try to swap your scroll time with reward activity. And also the 20-20-20 rule for your eyes to improve your eye health and reduce eye strain. Look at, after every 20 minutes of work, look at something 20 feet away or 20 seconds. And also, being intentional, it helps you to break the cycle and regain mental clarity. So move your body, connect to people offline. Sometimes you see people, they'll go to a social gathering, a party, a hangout, and half of the people, in fact, maybe 90% of the people are on their phone. So it begs the question, what exactly is the purpose of the social gathering if everyone is not interacting with each other? Everybody is just on their phone. And also make sure that you use tech intentionally, not habitually, not because everybody is using it. So I'll just use it too. If you don't take back the control, these things have the tendency to control you. And also make necessary swaps if you need to. If you need to journal, instead of using a journaling app, you can get an actual journal and put pen to paper. You can also use an actual alarm clock instead of using your phone as an alarm clock. And also get out and touch grass, like take a walk, visit family and friends, interact with actual people, not online people. And lastly, to wrap everything up, we know that as Muslims, Islam teaches us balance and also living our lives intentionally and also caring for our bodies, our minds, our soul, because all of these things, they are amana, they are trusts given to us by Allah, which also includes our time, our health. They are all trusts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon us, which means that we have to be intentional about how we manage them. And we should also remember that screens are tools, just like every other thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed as part of our sustenance. This is also part of risk. So how do you use the risk? Do you want this risk to testify against you on the day of judgment because you misused it? So let us not make our screens our masters. Let us reclaim control. Let us use our screens with purpose. Let us protect our time, and let us also preserve our health. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Thank you for listening. I hope everyone finds this beneficial and that you're able to take away practical tips to implement in your life, and that is also causes you to pause and think and become intentional about your use of screen. Jazakumullah khairan for listening.
Jazakumullah khairan. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure everyone here alongside me enjoyed that presentation and also benefited from it. If you are like me, when you first saw the topic digital health, how screens affect your mind and body, you must have thought, or at least I thought, that's just about the screens you interact with, how it affects you physically, that is, high eye strain and all of that. But then she also talked about how it affects your social behavior. She talked about the how algorithms are designed to get you to behave or to act in certain ways, and how sometimes or a lot of times the things we do or the things the actions we carry out may not necessarily be actions that that we intend to do, but are more likely dictated by whatever algorithm on the various platforms that we use. So that was actually an interesting perspective that I didn't think about and I gained from. So ask Almighty Allah to to continue to increase our lecturers in knowledge and protect them. So is there anyone that has a question for the just concluded session? Okay, I can already see hands being raised. If you have a question, you can also raise your hand as others are already doing. If you just one hand raised so far. Abdullah, you can unmute yourself. I think you can move closer to your mic.
All right. I don't know. Is it better this way?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So when although I had some back and forth with with my network, so but the time I joined the session and I had
I think we can no longer hear you.
Talking about again.
Sorry, can you take the last seconds?
I'm trying to change my location.
Okay.
So is it better? Is it better this way?
Is
it better this way, please?
It is, yes. Go on.
All right. I said although the time when I joined this session, I heard he was talking the speaker was talking about importance of sleep and like the essence of sleep can't be overemphasized. But my own question is that although it happens that like some persons probably because of the nature of their job or maybe because of maybe academic pressure, let me say academics or maybe like exam time as for a student and all, it happens that they might not be able to have enough sleep, like according to science, and not even according to the woman, their sleep is not enough, probably like having just 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep in a day, probably 3 in the afternoon or 3 at night, 2 in the afternoon or 2 or something like that. So I know that like is disastrous, but like in the long run, what are the effects and like just how can it be how can it be checked? Is it it must not have like should know? I don't know. I hope you understand what I'm trying to ask. But like it happens that some persons used to have like because nature of their job or because of school pressure or they cannot have or they cannot accommodate more than 4 or 5 hours sleep a day. Like, what can you say about that? Thank you very
much. Okay, I think before Haja Zainab response to that, I think we have a second person raising up the hand. Abdurrahman, can I meet yourself?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for this. Thanks for this insightful webinar. So my question is, I joined late and I met her when she was mentioning the 2020 rules. So I would like her to restate it.
All right. Okay, hello? So Haja Zainab. Now we had the question.
I'm sorry, I'm Barakatu. So the first question about maybe somebody that the nature of their job or maybe they are students, if it's not letting them get enough sleep, and we know that you should ideally get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. If a person is working, I think there's little to nothing that you can do about it, except that, like Dr. Muadh mentioned, like have defined work hours and try to stick to a structured routine to make sure that your work hours don't overflow into your personal time. I think that's a struggle that a lot of people who work remotely have, because you're working from home. You know, if you're working in an office, you can easily, when it's closing time, you just turn off the system and just leave, because you know that is your contracted hours are over. So you should try to stick to your contracted hours, even if you are working from home as well. But maybe if for any reason, maybe there are some other people that maybe work night shifts or something, it can be quite tricky, to be honest. The best I'll just say is that when you are trying to make up your sleep, you should try to get sleep in a dark room, because there's actually a science behind sleeping in a completely dark room as compared to sleeping in a place where maybe the light is on, or maybe there's other light sources. And it's also part of the reasons why we are encouraged to avoid using our screens at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, because the blue light from our phones, I think I forgot to mention that in my talk as well. It was something I was supposed to mention. The blue light from our phones, it actually delays the release of melatonin, and that melatonin is an hormone that is a hormone that is secreted by our body that helps us to feel drowsy. So as soon as we start to wind down, when the sun goes down and everywhere starts to get dark, your body gets the signal that, okay, we are approaching bedtime, and your body starts to wind down, which ensures that by the time you are ready to sleep, you easily fall into sleep, and you're able to fall into deep sleep, which is necessary for complete rest. So when you want to get maybe a restorative sleep, maybe you've been working the night, now you want to replace the sleep back during the day, try to make sure that the room you are sleeping in is a very dark room, and that you do not use your screen close to the time that you're going to be sleeping. So I hope, and for students as well, I feel like students have much more control over whether they want to sleep at night, or they want to remain awake. Even though maybe for some reason, some people want to study at night. It's not really ideal, because like I mentioned, that your night sleep is essential for you to be able to retain new information. So if you want to be studying every night, it's all right if it happens maybe just once in a while. But if you want to be doing that every time, it's not really good for your brain, and it's actually counterproductive, because your brain does not get the time to actually do the work of retaining the information that you are taking in. So if you can avoid doing anything at night and actually sleeping at night and doing everything else that you need to do during the day. And for the second question, I hope that answers the first question. For the second question, the 2020 rule is is actually a, how will I say it, is an advice sort of. So what the 2020 rule is that when you have been on a screen, you should try to focus on, you should try to look at something that is 20 feet away from you. Every 20 minutes of you working on a screen or looking at a screen, whether it's your smartphone or laptop or TV or whatever, every 20 minutes, look at something that is 20 feet away from you for 20 seconds, and then you can look back at your screen. I hope that is clear enough and it explains the 2020 rule.
So I'm hoping, or I'm guessing that answers both questions asked. Do we have any other question from the audience? Okay, so I think that's it for questions. Jazakumullah khairan to our lecturers. I think Dr. Muadh has left now, but Haja Zainab, Jazakumullah khairan for that presentation. I'm sure we've all learned from it, and it shouldn't just be that we are all just listening to these lectures, and after this session it goes out the other year or something. So let's all try to implement all the things we learn here. So I think something I would like to add to digital health, something I'd like to add to the topic of maintaining screen time, or basically restricting our screen time, is the use of apps. So there are apps on actually mobile apps that can help with limiting how much time we spend on this time-consuming apps, specifically social media apps, so WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, the likes. And some of these apps, YouTube, Instagram, also have built in them these restrictions, so we can explore these options as well, and to reduce the amount of time we spend on these apps. So inshallah, we will be bringing the session to a close. So before that, that's on now our president to give closing remarks. Over to you, sir.
Jazakumullah khairan, my beloved my moderator, our master of events. God bless you. We appreciate you so much. I want to start by thanking Allah for giving us yet another opportunity to have a beautiful session like we did today. I'm sure most of us would have picked one or two things we've learned from this session. So I want to urge us that as much as possible, let us try to implement all we've learned, especially with regards to managing our relationship with the screen, and at the same time managing stress, burnout, depression, and all, just like the Dr. Tajudeen addressed. I want to appreciate all of our speakers, starting from Dr. Muadh Tajudeen for the time. He has a very busy schedule, particularly today, and he ensured he was here to address us. So we appreciate that so much. May Allah reward him abundantly and bless all that concerns him. I also want to appreciate my sister for that wonderful presentation. I wanted to come in the other time to show my gratitude, but it's nice appreciating you now. We want to appreciate you for the wonderful presentation. I've also learned a lot from it. I want to pray that Allah continues to increase your knowledge, understanding, and grant you more wisdom. Bless all that concerns you, ma. Thank you so much, my sister. I want to appreciate everyone for coming out and for turning out for this event. I want to hope that subsequent events or subsequent webinars and other programs we'll be organizing, we will be showing up more than this. Thank you so much once again for all your participation and cooperation. May Allah reward you all abundantly. Jazakumullah khairan. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for that closing remark. So I think at this point we can now bring the webinar to a close. Recite Surah Al-Asr. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Al-Asr. Innal insana fi khusr. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Jazakumullah khairan to you all for gracing this event. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.